Okay, I made it to Sunnycrest again, and I'm gonna walk around and show you my favorite plants in each section. There are actually kind of a lot of sections, so I'll do as many sections as I can. So come with me and see what my favorites are today.
Hang out with me, find yourself in Candle's greenhouse.
All right, here we are at Sunnycrest. We found Debbie. She says it's okay to film, and we're gonna ask her some questions later. Here is their beautiful building. So this is what you see when you come in. I'll show you this corner first just because it is the smallest. Rhododendrons and azaleas. So to break up the tour a little bit, I picked some favorites from each section. In this section, I found the Rhododendron Horizon Monarch, and I will tell you a little bit about it. It is hardy in zones 5 through 9, takes part sun to part shade, gets up to 6 feet high and 5 feet wide, and blooms in mid to late spring. It's looking beautiful. Now I gotta figure out which direction I want to go. Let's go this way. So let me just tell you a little bit about Sunnycrest. It is located on the Key Peninsula, about 20 minutes outside of Gig Harbor, Washington. They have been in business for over 35 years. The owner is Debbie Cassidy, who also runs the YouTube channel Garden Style Northwest. Let's take a peek inside. They have a certified horticulturalist, garden designer, and arborist who is available to answer questions that you might have. Supplies. I'm guessing some tender perennials or tender annuals in there. All right, we'll have to go back in there in a minute. They sell a variety of annuals, perennials, native plants, herbs, trees, and shrubs, and offer a range of organic soils, fertilizers, and pest controls too. Got looks like Heebies here. I didn't get much footage of this Hebe, but I did end up taking one home, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. It is called Hebe Karl Golden-esque, hardy to zone 7, full to part sun. Height is 2 feet and width is 3 feet, and it blooms white in the summer. So I'll have to show you more about what that looks like in my garden at a later time. That looks like a clematis and a wisteria. Beautiful. Some clematis for sale here. This pretty purple clematis is called Hakucon Hardy to zone 3, sun to part shade, grows up to 6 or 7 feet tall, and blooms in May, June, and September. Looks like some viburnum. There's another little entrance inside from here if you want to go in. Maybe if it starts raining. All right, hard to even know where to go, right? So pretty. I try to hold the camera steady. I'm distracted by beautiful things. This next plant is a Weigela called Golden Jackpot, hardy in zones 4 to 8, takes full to part sun, 4 to 6 feet tall and wide, and blooms in mid-spring. Oh, looks like there's another door here if you want to peek inside. Oh, shade-loving annuals. So they're protected in here. My choice for a shade-loving annual to feature is called a New Guinea Impatiens Sonic Pink. I have never grown this before, but it looked intriguing, so I thought I would share it with you. It's sold as an annual, but it can be hardy in zones 10 through 12. It needs full sun to full shade, so it's very flexible. Will reach 12 to 14 inches tall and wide, and blooms spring to summer. Let me know in the comments if you've tried growing this one, if you like it. Look at how pretty. You see those blooms? Gotta come on the other side so I can make sure you can see it. Hold it still. So this is the first time I had seen this coloration of lavender. It's called New Madrid Blue. It's hardy to zone 7, needs full sun, and it gets up to 18 inches tall and wide. Blooms in spring to summer. I've been noticing Verbena canadensis Homestead ever since I heard Janie talk about it on her channel, Dig Plant Water Repeat, and so I found a nice specimen here I thought I would share with you. It is hardy to zone 7, needs full sun, can get up to 16 inches tall and 36 inches wide, and it should bloom all summer. The story behind this plant is that it was discovered on the side of the road by Alan Armitage and Michael Durr in Georgia. It is native to the U.S. Southwest. They found it near a country homestead, so they stopped, pulled over, and asked the homeowner if they could take cuttings, and they did, and the rest is history. I don't grow a lot of vegetables in my garden right now, but I did just plant 2 varieties of bush beans, so I thought I would show you this variety that I found today, and I'll explain why in just a second. This is a bush bean called Blue Lake. It is considered an annual because it is a vegetable that grows and dies in one season. It needs full sun and grows up to 20 inches tall by 10 inches wide. So I decided to grow a couple bush beans in my greenhouse because I have some fungus gnats in there. I do have sticky traps, but I thought it would be fun to try this as well. I saw that Ashley from Gardening in Canada explained how people used bush beans to catch gnats, and they have something on their leaves called trichomes that sort of basically stab the gnats and catch them. So I thought I would go ahead and try it. The shade perennial I wanted to show you first is a perennial called Jack Frost. It is hardy to zone 3, requires part shade to shade, and can get up to 16 inches tall by 14 inches wide. It blooms in the spring. Some people consider this a ground cover. Some people consider it a little tall for a ground cover. So I also picked a shade perennial from the lower growing ground cover section over here. And I chose Gallium, usually called Sweet Woodruff. This is hardy from zones 4 through 9. It needs part to full shade. It can get 12 inches high with a bloom and 16 inches wide, and it blooms May through July. There are a lot of beautiful conifers to choose from, but I decided to go with one that I have in a pot in my yard right now. I'm trying to figure out where to plant it. It is the Sedaris, I'm not sure how to say that, Sedaris atlantica glauca pendula weeping blue atlas cedar. So this is hardy zones 6 through 9. It requires full sun, and it says that it depends, the height and width depends on training, but the tag also says 6 feet high by 4 feet wide. So I guess you can control that a little bit depending on which direction you train it, up or to the side. The next section we're going to look at is succulents. There were many to choose from. There were some beautiful sedum and some other things, but the one I settled on is called Louisia because I had recently seen it in a native plant tour in California, and I didn't realize that this was a native. So I picked 2 varieties to show you, the first called Little Peach and the other called Little Raspberry. They are hardy to zone 4. They take part to full sun. They get only 6 inches high by 10 inches wide and bloom in the late spring. I thought this peach one especially had just gorgeous color, but there's also sort of darker pink if you want something that is a bit brighter. I'm surprised that it gets even 6 inches tall, but these must just be babies. Maybe the more mature plants send the flower spikes up a little bit taller. Next, we are going to take a look at the grasses section. There were also a lot of beautiful grasses and some that I've recently purchased to plant in my garden, but I went ahead and settled on this black mondo grass. I am not even going to attempt to say the Latin name for this right now. Nigrescens is the variety, but this is hardy to zone 6. It can take sun or shade. It gets up to 6 inches high by 10 inches wide, and it blooms in the summer. It only has sort of a little bloom stalk. Mostly people plant this plant for its foliage color. The Japanese maple section was pretty tricky to pick a favorite, so I went with something that didn't get too big. I was going to do a bloodgood, but they got pretty tall, so I chose this Acer palmatum Japanese maple called Purple Ghost. It is hardy to zone 5 and takes filtered to full sun, which seems a little unusual. Usually they are more part shade, I thought, but this one says filtered to full sun on the tag. It can get 8 feet tall by 6 feet wide in 10 years, they specify on the tag, but at maturity, it says it can be 15 to 18 feet tall. So it's very slow growing and takes a long time to get that tall. And I imagine you can control it with pruning. I had a little bit of trouble getting this next section on video. Once we turn around to the right here, there are a couple different sections that one of them is labeled pretty well vines, and then there's another section that is one of my favorite sections, which is sun ground covers. And so I'm going to show you plants from these sections, first from the vines, and then I have 3 ground covers I want to show you because they're just my favorite. So this first one is a star jasmine. It is hardy in zones 8 through 11, takes part to full sun. It can get to 20 feet tall, and the tag says the width depends on training. And then it blooms in spring into summer. This is a vining plant that you probably want to grow on a trellis or support. The 3 ground covers I'm going to show you are all things I have growing in my garden currently and I love. This first one is called Phlox subulata. That is different than the tall phlox. This one is a creeping phlox that grows along the ground. It's called Spring Blue Improved. It's hardy to zone 3, needs full sun, gets up to 4 inches tall by 12 inches wide, and blooms in the spring. The next one is Armeria, also called Sea Thrift. The variety is Ballerina Red. This is hardy to zone 7, takes part to full sun, gets 10 by 10 inches tall and wide, and blooms in the spring. And then the third and final sun ground cover is called Arenaria montana. I have this planted in a pot and it is so happy on year 3. It is hardy to zone 3, wants part to full sun, and it can be 4 to 8 inches tall by 12 inches wide and blooms in early summer. So my sun annual of choice is a very dark looking petunia called the Crazy Tunia Black Mamba. It is an annual. Some people consider these short-lived perennials if you're in zones 10 to 11. They like full sun, grow 12 by 12 inches tall and wide, and they bloom spring to fall. I decided to look for something that would go well with it so you could kind of contrast the dark and light color. And I found the Proven Winners Silverberry, and they look gorgeous. Inside the store, Sunnycrest has a florist in the back left corner there. And they also have tons of gifts and ideas for your home and garden. So you'll have to just go in and check it out. You can see a little bit in the camera here, watering cans, seeds, all sorts of things. They also have bird seed, birdhouses, feeders, all sorts of things. But they also have a couple of houseplants, and I got some help picking one to share with you.
Okay, so hi, I'm Jet. I'm a new employee here at Sunnycrest Nursery and Florist. I'm the backup florist. I've been here for about 2 months. But I gravitate more towards succulents. So like my personal favorite is this guy. It's a variegated string of hearts. And the real neat thing about this is that the underside is pink. So I'm planning on getting one eventually, probably tomorrow. And because I already have a bigger one at home. So.
Oh, that's so cute.
So this variegated string of hearts is a Ceropegia woodii variegata. I am probably not saying that right. It is hardy in zones 9 through 11. It cannot take a hard freeze, so it's usually a houseplant. It needs filtered sun, part shade, and it grows to 12 by 12 inches tall and wide and has little pink blooms if you treat it right.
Thanks for hanging out with me at Sunnycrest Nursery. It's been amazing to get to know Debbie. Hopefully we'll have many more visits here to come. See you soon. Bye.
Take a breath, hang out with me. Find yourself in Candle's greenhouse. Take a breath, take a breath. Take a breath, take a breath, take a breath, take a breath. Hang out with me. Find yourself in Candle's greenhouse.